What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Commander's Lair. It is of course Joey here. Today I'll be doing an upgrade guide for my Kaervek deck tech. So one of my viewers, Craig Bradley, commented asking for a $300 deck tech, so a higher budget than the $110 that the or $60 that the Kaervek was. Obviously it was very low, but I couldn't really get that done. I was kind of struggling because it was such a similar deck tech, and everything was just kind of falling into place the same, just with some really expensive cards kind of mixed in. So instead what I've done is I've made an upgraded kind of guide to the original video. So I've kind of gone through some of the cards that I think you would add in that would make the deck a lot better, and if you had that higher budget, what you might want to be including. And I'll let you do the exclusions for the original deck tech. I will link both of the list and the deck in the description, so you can kind of make your own assumptions, what you might want to take out, might want to add in, and what slots everything might work out to just make sure you can get the deck running and hit that higher budget. And right before I get into the video, make sure that you guys are subscribing if you want to see more, liking if you do enjoy this content, commenting like Craig Bradley did, asking any other kind of decks you might want me to see or would build for you. It means a lot if you guys would just be do some of that. I'll be more than happy to do it, and hopefully I can get your deck techs done next time. So I'll just quickly note that Kaervek is 5 black-red for a 5/4 human shaman, with whenever an opponent casts a spell, Kaervek the Merciless deals damage to target creature or player equal to that spell's CMC, and Obosh the Prey Piercer is 3 hybrid Rakdos for a 3/5 Hellion Horror. With Companion, your starting deck contains only cards with odd CMCs and land cards, so the way Companion works is it starts in a separate zone and we can pay 3 at any time to put it into our hand, and it's just in the game like any regular card. And then if it gets exiled, it's lost, whatever, any effects like that. And so it also has, if a source you control with an odd CMC would deal damage to a opponent or player, it deals double that damage to that opponent or player instead. So what we're doing is we're running an all odd CMC burn deck based on using Kaervek as one kind of avenue for burning people, along with a bunch of other cards, and Obosh as an avenue for doubling it, along with some other cards as well. And so obviously as the main theme is burn, we're going to have a lot of burn upgrades for the deck list. So Goblin Sharpshooter is 2 and a red for a 1/1 Goblin. It doesn't untap during your own untap step, but whenever a creature dies, untap Goblin Sharpshooter, and it can tap to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. So this just over the course of the game, it drops fairly early. You can just keep using its effect and just keep pinging people all game. This deck, also this card is $12.50 at the time of recording, and basically, especially with all the burning we're going to be doing, we should hopefully be able to kill quite a few creatures, so it'll trigger Goblin Sharpshooter off, and we can get a lot of value out of that, especially if we can pull off a one-sided board wipe or something like that. Kaervek Parasite is 1 black mana for a 1/1 horror. Whenever an opponent draws a card, if you control a red permanent, you may have Kaervek Parasite deal 1 damage to that player. So obviously this drops on turn 1, hopefully turn 2 or turn 3 we can drop one of those cards like Goblin Sharpshooter and get a red permanent down. It shouldn't be too difficult. And then obviously just 1 mana for pings, and whenever they draw a card, it's just a really great and so we can just constantly just getting pinged them all game, just that consistent burn instead of that one-off burn that our commander is going to be doing. This is similar to Rampaging Ferocidon. It's 2 and a red for a 3/3 menace, and as players can't gain life, so this obviously stops people that could potentially be countering our strategy, so that's really nice as well. We can shut that out and make sure that we can't be denied through a life gain deck. And it has whenever another creature ETBs, Rampaging Ferocidon deals 1 damage to that creature's controller. So obviously we are going to have creatures ETBing, but not as many as our opponents most likely, because we're not playing that many creatures in this deck. But also importantly, our opponent's going to be taking a lot more damage than we are, because we're going to be burning them, so this will be a lot more one-sided to them, and we are of course not gaining life as well. So just that nice consistent ping over the whole game, just keeping us lots of damage, is quite contrasted to the other cards like Repercussion, which is 1 red for enchantment, with whenever a creature is dealt damage, Repercussion deals that much damage to that creature's controller. So this card is $25. Obviously quite expensive, but I think it's definitely worth it, because this just means that if anyone's blocking or if we're burning something, we can kill a creature with one of our burn spells, say a Lightning Bolt. We can pay 1 mana to deal 3 damage, kill someone's Oracle of Moldiah, and then also deal 3 damage to them for just 1 mana. Well, obviously a really great effect, and obviously if anyone else is blocking or attacking, this is going to do all kinds of things with that. It's going to mess up people's attacks, so they're just going to have to take damage, or lose their creatures and take damage. So it's going to be really interesting there. It's going to force people to play differently, and if they play more passively and don't attack, that's going to be great for us, because obviously we can win through burning while they just do nothing. Terror of the Peaks is $27.46. This is an incredible card. It's 3 red for a 5/4 dragon with flying. Spells your opponent's cast that target Terror of the Peaks cost an additional 3 life to cast. So a nice additional drain there, a little bit of protection, sort of like ward. And whenever another creature ETBs under your control, Terror of the Peaks deals damage to that creature's power to any target. So I mentioned earlier that we aren't playing that many creatures, but we are playing quite a few, enough to definitely consider this, in the deck, or in any Kaervek deck that you are in fact building. Of course, it's really not that hard, and that effect is so powerful, even for it to trigger, 2-3 times is potentially, going to knock someone out of the game, especially with the high CMCs with cards like Kaervek, of course. And it's just, going to be really useful to make sure we can just chip our opponents down very quickly and just knock them out of the game ASAP. And Vile Smash of the Fierce could even be an alternate commander for this deck if you'd like. It's 1 black-red for a 2/3. Whenever you cast your first spell each turn, choose an opponent at random. Vile Smash of the Fierce deals damage equal to that spell's CMC to that player or a planeswalker that player controls, and it has partner. So importantly with this, we're not playing that many, really expensive spells. But we are playing some. For example, again, a commander 7 mana. There's, there are spells in this deck that are expensive that we could use. But realistically, it's just a 3 mana. It's gonna, burn someone every turn. The random doesn't matter because we're gonna be killing everyone, really quickly. It's not gonna be specific. We don't really care about that. So Vile Smasher is just really useful for that because it can just chunk out that damage constantly. Every turn it's gonna trigger off it. And we can just keep up making sure we're doing a lot of damage with that. So right before I move on to the next section of the card draw, I did want to note that pretty much all the included in this list are not generically good cards. They are specific cards that are expensive, that's, fit into the burn theme and fit into the theme of the deck. Because I just felt like, obviously, you guys can find a really good card that's $20 yourself, that's going to fit in really well with any deck that's just really great. So I went specifically for cards that I think will fit in this deck alone, so you can't just do that generic value, and this can, kind of give you a direction to go with and kind of find cards for you. However, I just felt Jessica's Will was really great, and it was worth mentioning. So it's 2 and a red for a sorcery. Choose one. If you control a commander as you cast a spell, you may choose both, which is somewhat unlikely given our commander is a lightning rod for removal, and of course also costs a lot of mana, but potentially we could get it out. Either way, it's worth it for just one or either of these effects. So it has add red mana for each card in target opponent's hand, and exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. So either it's 3 mana, Impulse Draw 3, which I'm not the biggest fan of Impulse Draw, but that is obviously a very nice effect anyway. And that add red mana for each card in target opponent's library, target opponent's hand, can really easily just let us cast our commander at maybe turn 3, turn 4. So getting Kaervek out that early is genuinely going to set the game on such a quick clock that if people don't have removal, we're going to be winning the game very early, because that early they can't just withhold off from casting spells. They're going to have no engine set up. They're going to have to get their ramp, get their card draw, get their whole deck functioning, so they can't refrain from casting spells. So we're just going to burn them like crazy. So that's why I included this. Otherwise, that Impulse Draw is great as well. Reforge the Soul is another great card draw effect. It's 3 red for a sorcery with Miracle 1 and a red, so you may cast this card for its Miracle cost when you draw it, if it's the first card you drew this turn. So, and it has each player discards his or her hand and then draws 7 cards. So it's going to be a Wheel effect, so Wheel of Fortune effect for 5 mana or 2 mana. Either way, we're probably willing to pay it. If we just need to recycle our hand, it can be very useful for us because, if we're running dead, if we need that mana to, make sure we can get Kaervek out, anything like that. But to potentially also regassing our opponent's hands in this deck can be risky, because obviously we can draw them into that removal that is going to kill Kaervek. But in the original list, I ran heaps of protection for him, so it's not too hard to make sure Kaervek stays protected. Otherwise, though, if we give them heaps of gas, they're going to have a bunch of spells that they want to play, right? So they're going to be playing all these really awesome spells that we've just let them draw, but then they're going to be taking heaps of damage from it and potentially dying from it. So it's, kind of a double-edged sword there. We can we can get a heaps going from that. The next card is Valakut Awakening. This is a land. It has the other side where it ETB's tapped, and it taps for a red, adds that for a red mana. But the main card we're focusing on is that flip side. So it's 2 and a red for an instant. Put in a number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your library. Then draw that many cards +1. And I know I mentioned that this deck isn't meant, or this list isn't meant to be focusing on the generically good cards, but Valakut Awakening is just so great. I feel like, regassing our hand again, it can draw us into exactly what we need to find, and we can select, we don't have to put everything we want on the bottom of our library. We can just put the cards that we don't need. If we have dud lands or dud spells that we don't want to cast, if we're controlling the board, we don't need removal, anything like that. I just think it works really well. And then Zansha fits perfectly in this theme. I love this card. Potentially, if you guys want to see a deck tech, I'd be happy to make one. I versed an awesome Zansha deck once that I LGS. So Zancha is 1 black and a red for a 5/5 minion. As she ETBs, an opponent of your choice gains control of her. And then Zancha attacks each combat if able and can't attack its owner or planeswalker's own controls. So it's basically goaded, and it can't attack you. And you give it to a random opponent, or opponent that you would like to give it to. And then you can pay 3 mana, and its controller loses 3. Controller loses 2 life, and you draw a card. And any player may activate this. So again, regassing your opponent can do heaps of stuff for us. It can be quite valuable. At the same time, it could be potentially risky. So you kind of evaluate that when you play it. But I just think it's a really, really fun political card. We can just have everyone team up on someone, and they can all be focused on kind of burning that person out, where they don't notice that we're pinging them with all those cards like the Kaervek Parasite. And it can just be a really great way for us to draw cards if we have mana sinks, which we might, obviously, if our commander is already out, because we've already got heaps of mana and nothing to spend it on. And then lastly, of course, we're going to have these kind of miscellaneous cards that I just think fit quite well in the burn theme, or just in general with how this deck is going to be playing. Chance of Ignition is 3 red for a sorcery. Target creature you control deals damage to equal to its power to each other creature and each opponent. So, obviously, potentially with this deck it's going to be interesting because Kaervek should be able to do 5 damage, which will be doubled. So just on base value, as long as we have a commander out, this will be 5 mana to deal 10 damage to each opponent and each creature, so opponent's control. So basically, also each other creature, so it'll be all the creatures, so it's going to kill everything, but it's going to keep the most important creature, Kaervek, alive, which is all we really care about, to be honest. And then obviously burn all of our opponents for 10, which potentially could kill them or put them in killing range, stop them. And if Kaervek is alive and they are so low that they can't cast anything, we can just lock them out of the game because they won't, all their creatures are dead. They can't cast any spells or they'll lose the game. So this could lead to us really easily winning with this if we could potentially pull that off. Deflecting Swat, this is really expensive. It is $42.50 at the time of recording. It's 2 and a red for an instant. If you control your commander, you may cast a spell without playing its mana cost, and you may choose new targets for target spell or ability. So obviously, most of the time when Kaervek is going to be dying, it is not going to be from a wrath, it's going to be from targeted removal, because the moment he comes out, he is going to be a big threat, and everyone's going to want him gone, or they're going to lose the game. So, in keep with all those protection spells, instead of having, like, static protection that we have in the deck list that I made, we can have, proactive protection. So Deflecting Swat, obviously the only reason we're going to be casting this almost ever is to protect our commander. So it's always going to be free. So it's going to be a free, just, stop him from dying to, that swords or that path or whatever it is. It obviously is very expensive, but if you can fit it in the budget, definitely I think it works really well, because it's just, such a great card. It'll just, put in major work. Killing Wave is a great way to clear the board. It's X and a black for a sorcery. For each creature, its controller sacrifices it unless they pay X life. And in a general deck, I think Killing Wave is definitely worth consideration. This card is very good and definitely underplayed. Nowhere near as good as Toxic Deluge, but definitely just quite good. And basically, what we're going to be doing here particularly is just putting it quite low, right? Because even if our opponent, say, has 4 creatures and we put 4 mana into this, right? So it's going to be, they have to pay 3 mana for those 4 creatures, which is going to be 12 mana in total. They're not going to, 12 life, right, in total, sorry, which obviously they're not going to pay. They're not going to pay 12 life in a regular instance, but in an instance where we're draining them for their whole life total, right, that, all out the entire game, all we're doing is burning them, and then we're basically telling them either you're going to lose the game or get to very low life total, or lose your whole board. They're going to have to lose their whole board, or they're going to basically lose the game. So unless their opponents are about to win the game, we can just immediately just get rid of everything that they have. And this is just a really effective, and what I'm going to think is going to be very cheap costed board wipe for us. And Ahead the Eternal is some great, late game ramp to get us casting those massive spells like Killing Wave for a massive mana cost potentially. It's 3 red for a 4/6 zombie minotaur warrior with a flick 3, so whenever the creature becomes blocked, defending player loses 3 life. That doesn't really matter. What matters is at the beginning of your post-combat main phase, add red to your mana pool for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. So that obviously the main phase part there is to account for combat damage. We don't really care about combat damage. We're not attacking barely at all in this deck. What we care about is that burn we're going to be doing. So let's just say we did cast that anything. Let's go for Chandra Ignition, right? Let's say we cast that Chandra's Ignition. We did 10 damage to all of our opponents, so they have 30 damage in total to your opponents. Then our post-combat main phase is going to add 30 mana, so we're going to have 30 mana to do whatever we want. Sink it into that Killing Wave, sink it into that Zancha to drain someone out and kill them. Cast some of those massive spells. Doesn't matter what we're going to be doing. we're gonna have so much mana. And we're gonna have, we're not even gonna know what to do with it because we're gonna have so much mana. This can really easy end the game because we're just gonna, hit our opponents, get so much mana that we can just instantly close up the game there. And then also I just wanted to mention with the land base really quick, I figured going for some of the really expensive lands, like Shocks and Jewels obviously isn't the right way to go, for, only a $300 budget. So I wanted to recommend some of those kind of mid-range, jewel lands. So Dragon Skull Summit, Luxury Suite, and Sulphurous Springs, they can both add either mana of any color. They can do it the turn that they come in potentially. Just any of those, lands that are about $5 to $10-ish, maybe a little less, that, you wouldn't include in a budget deck because you're trying to keep the price down, but when you have a bit more money to spend, you can kind of splash out and get those lands that have some extra value, but maybe are a bit too expensive for it to go on a regular deck. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I hope you guys did like this video. Obviously, an upgrade guide is something you don't really see very often on YouTube in general, but also just you wouldn't often see from me because I've never done one of these before. But just make sure let me know what you think. I can do these upgrade guides on other ones on my deck techs if that's what you'd like to see, or just kind of pick out some key kind of more expensive cards for any deck that you guys think might be good and might fit in well that you want to see. Make sure to comment that below. Otherwise, comment any deck techs you want to see. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Make sure to like and subscribe, comment your thoughts. See ya.